Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We are talking about treasury bills. The life with treasury bills in India began with ad hoc treasury bills. And what happened was there was an agreement which initially was during the British days, RBI and the government, that government would keep money, their money with RBI, the way we keep money with commercial banks in a deposit, in an account. If that money goes down below some amount on working days, and a particular amount on Friday, which is very important, end of the week, immediately government would sell treasury bills called ad hoc treasury bills to RBI to get the money, sufficient money to keep that minimum balance. We don't get this privilege from commercial banks. If our money goes down below minimum balance in our accounts, savings accounts, commercial bank doesn't give us the freedom to borrow from commercial bank to bring up the level to the minimum desired level. But government gets extra privileges. And RBI is essentially, central bank is the banker of the government. Now, but this, the frequency and the amount with which ad hoc bills used to be sold by Government of India, which is always running at a deficit, became enormous. And RBI got fed up because most of the time RBI was supplying the money against those bills by printing notes, which is deficit financing, which is dangerous for a country. And if RBI has the responsibility also to look after the monetary policy and the monetary economy, it cannot just keep on pumping money. Like I have to look after the discipline of my child. At the same time, I keep on giving money and whatever he wants from me, both cannot go together. I cannot discipline him. If on the one hand I say you got to be disciplined, on the other hand I keep on supplying cash and other things to him whatever he wants, and whether he goes to school or not, whenever he wants to play, whenever he wants to sleep. So RBI was getting fed up. Finally, after 40 or 50 years, in the 1990s, there was an agreement again, RBI and the government sat down that we will, what do you call that, we will, I forget these languages, essentially phase out the ad hoc bills completely by 1997-98, and they decided that this amount of ad hoc bills maximum they would issue during this period, and all they would return the money. But they found within 2-3 years that the government is not listening to whatever the standard it has set for itself, how they should issue treasury bills. So they sat down again and said, stop that. What they did was, the ad hoc bills, and there used to be a 91-day treasury bill on tap, which is the same thing. It's always available. So if you want to invest your surplus cash, either as a householder or as a firm or whatever, you can put the money there. These two, 91-day treasury bill, which is a regular treasury bill, on tap it's called, and the ad hoc treasury bills, they were all converted into a console-like thing with indefinite maturity. Maturity wasn't specified, and but with an interest payment of 4.68, I think, 4.6% per annum, which is hardly anything. So whoever invested in that will keep on getting 4.6% on it, but we don't promise when we would retire them, because at the time of retirement, government will have to pay the principal to those investors which doesn't have the cash. I don't know whether they have retired them or not. I really don't know still. Even after, say, How many years? 15 years later. So, these small information would be somewhere. I do not really have the information. So, they withdrew ad hoc treasury bills and 91-day treasury bill on tap. Now, let us come to the actual treasury bills, the core of the treasury bills that exist today. These are called regular treasury bills. I need to talk about them. I have given you a brief history. Regular treasury bills. Now, regular treasury bills, first let me talk about the 91-day bill, which is very popular. 91-day bill has been there for a long time. It was on two types, one on tap, one was on a weekly tender. It used to be sold. Weekly tender, my goodness, not auction. Huge amount of work for RBI, because RBI is to manage that. Government wants to sell it, it announces, and all the headache was on the underwriter called RBI to announce it in newspapers also sometimes, call the bids, decide it, sell it, collect the money, and I am coming to that. There is some issue here. Until 1965, according to Professor Bhole's book, he did the research work because he was at IIT Bombay. So, he was in Bombay, he could go to RBI and get the data and information. Being in a big city like that has some advantage which we do not have here. But fortunately, there is the internet. I can get some RBI information sitting here. Until 1965, regular 91-day treasury bill was sold to the public by weekly tenders or through weekly tenders. All right? Okay. The announcement of tender will be made to the public through a press communique, and the tender that quoted the lowest discount rate would be accepted. You know that, how tenders work. The lowest cost, lowest bidder is given the job to do that. But the problem is, even the lowest bidder and the amount they want to buy, and other people, if other bidders, if you accept the lowest bid, you can also invest. It is not you had a higher discount rate and also some amount you want to buy, your discount rate was rejected because it was high and the lowest discount rate was accepted. So, treasury bills were sold as discount bond in some sense. So, accepted means only you can buy. No, she bid higher level, but if she accepts this discount rate, she can also invest. In fact, that is good for the government, because government is asking for a lot more money, and those days there few buyers were there. Mainly the buyers were banks and some non-banks, not individuals, not foreign governments, not so much. A little bit were there. Okay. Now, so what they would do is that, okay, Jagdish's rate was lowest, it was accepted, Jagdish bought something, but there is still some balance, then they would invite other parties. You want to buy them? They said, okay, we will accept that rate. Anyway, we have surplus cash, what to do for 3 months, let the money go there. 91-day bill, 3 months, let the money be there with government. It has zero risk. It's a gilt-edge market, zero risk. Maybe the rate is lower than what I was expecting. Let me put in money. But there used to be one more issue I want to tell you. Suppose the amount was X. X minus Y is now remaining, because Y has been bought by him. All right? Say 100,000 crores. He bought 60,000 crores. Now, you people bought 20,000 crores, but 20,000 crores still remains, which government wanted. Why? Who would buy them? Nobody is buying it. ठीक है, auction तो है, tender है, but suppose there is no buyer, no investor, I mean, buyer of the bill are the investors. Suppose there are no investors, this used to put also RBI into trouble. Let me warn you, let me tell you about this right now. This is known as the devolvement issue. Devolvement. Devolvement, D-E-V-O-L-V-E-M-E-N-T, devolvement. This devolvement issue used to be another headache for RBI. The balance RBI will have to pick up. less of a trouble than ad hoc bills because it's continuously RBI. Now you have a public coming into the picture, tender, auction, whatever, regular bills. But if there is a balance which nobody is buying, like आपने कुछ कर रहे तो जैसे सब ने आपका फ्रेंड रिलेटिव्स आपको हेल्प किया कुछ अब बिजनेस ओपन करना चाहते हैं लेकिन there is a balance that you couldn't collect from anybody, bank, now nobody. Finally, who would do it? The head of the family, father. This also remained a headache. So, regular bills were not without a headache for RBI. They had some headache for RBI, but not that much compared to the ad hoc bills. Achha. Now, for a while these bills were around that time 1965, which I already told you, they were made available on tap, so that the devolvement issue is less. They did that on tap. So, you do not have to call weekly auctions or weekly tenders, except weekly tenders those days, but it was available on tap, so whoever wants to buy, but I do not think there were many buyers. Achha. 1993, that means the reform period started, they converted that from tender to auction. So, auction mein kya hoga? Auction day announced, they are all invited. So, they would all come and start bidding in a room, all right. Auction system was introduced and it is of course market determined because everybody has a right to do whatever they want to do. They look at the amount RBI is selling, that is government is requiring, they decide how much to buy and what price. Price is usually the interest rate, the discount rate. Achha. The date of auction would be notified and the main bidders, when auction started, I think earlier it was the same thing. Who has the cash in India? Some non-banks, one or two, and banks. And those days, many banks were on the losing side. They were running at a loss. Public sector banks also. Just not government banks, public sector banks were also running at a loss. But anyway, it used to be banks. 1993 also thing was very, I remember I used to read up newspapers about annual report on how many banks are running at a loss and what's the total amount of loss. It's unbelievable, public sector banks. Complete mismanagement, inefficient management, the whole structure, now they have improved a lot. Okay. So, there used to be a business page in the news. There used to be, there is still a business page in the newspaper, major newspapers. And you will get all sorts of information. If you keep your eye open, particularly economics students, you will pick up current issues, topics, information a lot there. I used to keep the clippings because I started preparing a course along those lines. And those clippings, I used to prepare my notes also. Because internet wasn't there so much. 95 Windows have just come. Don't think life was 2012 life. It's very different life. We are learning the computer, use the word processor a little bit. Hardly emails just started. Websites hardly existed in India. Hardly existed. Okay. So, the RBI announces the date of auction, notified the amount from time to time. Commercial banks are the competitive bidders, but state governments, state pension funds, there are organizations called pension funds, they call it a lot of money. Every year people who are earning are putting a fraction of their salary into that kitty and somebody manages that. Usually state government and central government has managers for them, state pension funds and provident funds. Like I am putting my money, it goes to government, government has a responsibility to manage them. They were not allowed to bid, very interesting, not allowed to bid, but if there is a balance which banks did not pick up, if you accept that rate, you can take it. You can invest. State governments, pension funds, provident funds organizations, well, you can invest because they are also surplus cash. I haven't had non-banks yet here, but do you understand what I am saying? So, whatever the cutoff was, the discount rate, you can purchase them and invest there. All right. Now, one thing often happened, suppose an X amount is to be collected, but through sale of 91-day regular bill, banks have picked up X minus say Y, so Z remains, X minus Y remains, and there are 3-4 groups that are sitting there. RBI often did what is known as allotment, quota allotment, not first come first served. Whoever is willing to invest at that rate, and suppose 5 investors are sitting there, all right, they were not bidders. If they accept the rate, they can buy, they can put in money, and RBI often did was they asked them what's the amount they want. If they found there is a huge variance, not similar, and also the total is some amount, so they would make a maybe 5 equal parts or whatever. So RBI decided also the quota for them. This is how they allotted the treasury bills. All right. Even after that, the non-competitive bidders or non-competitive participants, pension funds, state governments, etc., have put in money. Even after that, in 1993 onwards, there used to be some amount remaining, residue, जो कोई नहीं ले रहा है क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट को इतना रुपया ज़रूरी है, then RBI devolvement would be there. All right? Okay. I am finding RBI devolvement is still, it was there till about, according to my data sheet, I will show you the data, till 2001 and 2. 2001-2 financial year, RBI devolvement was there. After that, it has become 0. That means the entire issue is mopped up by the market. The competitive bidders and non-competitive participants. RBI is not having any devolvement after 2001-2. After 2001-2, RBI's devolvement was an issue. RBI doesn't want it, but it used to fall on his head. Like, koi nahi kar raha hai, aapko hi karna padega. That kind of a thing is involved. Nobody is doing it, you have to do it. Okay. Very good. Now, that's the 91-day bill. I will give you a lot of some data. It's very interesting to look up some data. Now, I come to the controversial one. This is called 182-day bill. 182-day. I gave you these titles, these names yesterday or something. 182-day bill was introduced even much before reform started. This is during the Rajiv Gandhi era, 1986 November. But it's interesting that the 182 bill was there, it was withdrawn, it was put back. This is how it went, and I exactly don't know why it happened like that. 182-day bill. Now, the idea was to introduce the 182-day to introduce some differentiation in the government bills market, short-term money market, short-term government bills market. To introduce some differentiation, like you are going to go and buy a motorcycle. Now, you can have only Bajaj motorcycle, but if you have Bajaj, Kawasaki, Yamaha, etc., and these Italian companies, whatever, then you have a range of products to select from, and the market also becomes more competitive, because everybody knows if I don't make it attractive, customers will go to the other product. So, differentiation makes the market more competitive. All right. Now, 182 bill, what I have read so far, was introduced to make the market more competitive, more attractive to investors. Because if you don't like 3 months, it's too short an investment, you go for a 6-month investment. For 6 months, then you don't have worry. After 6 months, when it matures, you get back the money from the government, you can think about what to do with the money. 3 months, so for some investors, it was too short a time. 3 महीने बाद फिर चिंता करना पड़ेगा वो रुपया को किधर डालूं. Suppose people are making money. Simply, they do their job is like a speculator's job in the stock market. They keep on putting money in some kitty, earning something, pulling it out, or whatever, putting it somewhere else. This is all they do all their life. Suppose I am saying, that is all they do. They do not manufacture goods, they simply put money here, earn something, take it out, put money there, earn something, take it out. They keep on doing that like a speculator. So, I guess 91 day would be a big headache, because for some people it would be attractive. They say if the market is not doing well, depends upon the economic situation. If the market is not doing well, then 91 days kafi hai. Or one can look at it this way, government bills are safe markets. So, if the market is not doing well, 91 day we can still short, 60 days, 6 months is good. But some people, some investors, 91 days enough because the return is not very high. I am not finding a suitable instrument to invest. For 3 months I will put money here, or what they call I park my money here. That is the language they use, P-A-R-K, like parking a car. Now, so government thought, how about introducing a 182-day bill where investors do not want to worry money for 6 months. They think it's safe investment, it's good investment, let it be there, then we will think. I often think like that when I put my money. I do not think short term instruments. My goodness, after 6 months I have to have a headache again. Again, look up the market, think about, call the financial advisors, tell me where to put the money. If I put my money, I put away money in some instrument where I do not have to worry about for 5, 6 years or so. To be honest with you, let it be there, whatever surplus I may have. So, they introduced that to differentiate the market and make it more attractive, 182-day bill. Way back in 1986, that means it was Rajiv Gandhi's time, 7th plan. All right. Now, what happened? It used to be sold through monthly auctions, not weekly. Very different. वो कभी-कभी auction होता था, a monthly होता था, not weekly, number 1. But later, it became so attractive that they make it fortnightly. Very interesting, from monthly to fortnightly. So, half a month, all right. It becomes so attractive. And also probably the reason is government needs money. Month mein ek baar 182 bill. So, tapping a market segment of the market for money, na, from government's point of view, tapping a segment of the market for money. It does not have money. So, monthly is too few. I am not getting enough money, make it fortnightly. Now, it is government's demand. Achha. These bills were issued at a market determined discount rate for a minimum amount of 1 lakh and multiples of thereof. So, it was an expensive bill. Treasury bills can be even 100 rupees, all right, 200 rupees you can buy, 1000 rupees treasury bills. But these one, I think treasury bill has a face value of 100 rupees. But this minimum amount, minimum issue size, my goodness, 182 bill was 1 lakh. So, this is not meant for small savers, this is meant for big guys, banks again, non-banks who have sufficient cash to put money there. And then multiples of 1 lakh, that is a huge amount usually, all right. And I will talk about that. These bills were so prestigious bills, they were used in SLR. I have not talked about SLR, I will talk about SLR later. They were used in SLR also. Banks have to maintain, besides CRR, they were supposed to maintain also SLR. And SLR is just entirely not cash. SLR is a basket of items where there are some securities, cash, etc. This 182-day bill, government allowed banks to use them in their SLR basket. So, banks were also tempted therefore to put money in 182-day bill, because banks knew, my goodness, now every fortnightly or weekly I have to show the SLR. For SLR, cash is not enough. I have to show them certificates. So, you can see how government is trapping, created a trap for banks. So, banks were naturally forced to invest in this 182-day bill, because it is a convenient instrument for the SLR, a convenient item for the SLR. It worked both ways. So, essentially what I am trying to say, these are called captive markets. In case of coal allocation, this is the debate going on TV. Coal allocation scam, captive market. Government is saying that coal blocks were allocated for captive market use. That means there is a steel plant, it requires coal, there is a power plant, it requires coal. So, it was allotted to them block wise, whatever they need at a low cost. So that when they produce electricity or steel, the prices will be low if the input prices are low. Captive market, not open market sell. But BJP and the opposition is saying that is the way not to allot valuable natural resources. The way to allot valuable natural resources is to auction them and find out the highest bidder. The second point that BJP and government opposition is raising, and government is also taking up, government has agreed, the two parties, that many of the receivers of the coal blocks are yet to mine the coal. So, what are they doing sitting on it? Why? They got it at a low price, but not using them. So, what I am trying to say here is that you can see from here 182-day bill can be used in SLR. Government is essentially creating a captive market with the help of banks. So, banks will, surplus funds will automatically get channelized into government treasuries, and government needs funds. So, government is essentially using the banks to fund their deficit very cleverly by selling the SLR, because SLR they made it part, 182-day treasury bill, they made it a part of SLR. All right. So, this is captive market, you understand that. Often Tata first captive plant, power plant I heard was with respect to Tata. TISCO in Jamshedpur cannot get power supply from Bihar. Bihar was one of the worst states in the world, in the country. So, Tata had a captive power plant to run TISCO. How is TISCO doing? It survives on that. At night, it supplies, when the plant is not functioning at full steam, it supplies the excess power to the grid. Daytime, it supplies power to TISCO, Tata Iron and Steel Factory. All right. So, captive plants are very interesting issues. Now, this coal block thing is my understanding what is going on. I do not know, you can listen to them. Fight जो हो रहा है, मनमोहन सिंह चोर है, मनमोहन सिंह चोर है, हो रहा है ना. पार्लियामेंट 9-day फंक्शन नहीं किया, आज 10th day है. Chor means this is what has happened. It's not exactly chori, but it's something inefficiency. So, who benefited, etc. They haven't found anything, but it's going on, the fight, political fight. These bills were eligible for SLR, and I forgot to tell you that doesn't mean 91-day bill were not eligible for SLR. Of course, 91-day bill was also eligible for SLR. So, these treasury bills, government is working cleverly now. Since they have an SLR, they are using that SLR route to sell, and banks are saying, अरे बाप रे बाप रे बाप रे, SLR तो दिखाना है, जितना डिपॉजिट बढ़ेगा उतना SLR दिखाना है, तो उतना 81 डे खरीदो, 182 डे, 91 डे, और उतना रुपया गवर्नमेंट से easily मिल रहा है, cash. Very clever, extremely clever. All right, creating a captive market. Your funds excess will automatically come to me. Now, unlike 91-day bill, since it's a large amount, it's very interesting. Central government probably doesn't like state governments, and state governments also do not have that much excess funds. Some state governments have surpluses, usually they don't. They were not sold to state governments and provident funds, etc. Very interesting. This one was given to banks. The reason may be, since because of the SLR and the economy was fattening, growing over time, okay, you take the reason, the simple reason, as the economy is growing, bank deposits are also growing. You saw the numbers, demand deposits, time deposits and all that, money supply numbers, which are also saying bank deposits are growing. Now, therefore, the larger and larger amount have to be put in SLR and CRR. because of that, and the government also need funds, so government is giving these 182 bill to the banks basically. The bidders, you bid among themselves, among yourselves, your community, they are all fellow bankers, so banks. Take care. Maybe nationalized banks, but they are all bidding along with the private banks also, and they are mopping up the entire 182 day issue. State governments have said, no, 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 you go to the 91 day, either na. Large amount bhi hai, and you don't have often large surpluses, and I'm helping out the banks and banks are helping me, don't come. So it's very interesting, the state governments, provident funds, pension funds, they are not there in the market. All right? Okay. And now what they have is just not there, the banks, and of course, this is very interesting, that the non-competitive bidders in case of 182 day bill has been very interesting. Foreign banks, because probably it's attractive to foreign banks, other financial institutions in India, LIC, UTI, GIC, whoever, and some primary dealers like DFHI. DFHI is something, I will talk about that. RBI has created this. NABARD they created. After that, they created DFHI essentially to look after, it's a funding organization, sits with a huge fat cash. He's a fat guy with a lot of cash. He looks after the call market, etc., etc. Very important, all right. So, call market mein koi pressure hai, DFHI intervenes. Now, what RBI is doing, RBI is essentially decentralizing the functions. He's saying, I cannot take so much headache. Now, I am creating this institution, you take the headache. So, DFHI has become the right hand of RBI in the short term money market. NABARD has become the right hand of RBI in agricultural finance. So, it keeps on creating such institutions. So, RBI says you manage. If there is a major trouble, then I will sit with you. Otherwise, you run your own show, own business. Father is telling son, now you are grown up, you run your business. If there is a major problem, you come to me. I cannot look after your business, my business, and all that business I inherited. This is precisely what's been happening. So, DFHI is now an important institution here as an investor in 182 bill. It is running autonomously so well as a non-competitive bidder like foreign banks, etc., and other financial institutions. It also invests in 182 day bill. Acha. Now, having run from 1986 November, finally on 16th October 1992, when the reform started, 182 bill was stopped from auctioning. I found suddenly there is a huge gap, no data, and then I found a footnote somewhere. It was stopped. Then you won't believe me, again in 26 May 1999, which is nearly 7 years, they were reintroduced. 26 May 1999, they were reintroduced. And then you know what happened? Again on 14 May 2001, they were stopped. 2 saal ke andar. 99, 20, 2001, May 14, they were stopped again. I really don't know. I have one thin answer for this. At some point, why they did that? No, 91 day bill never did that. On and off, on and off. It's running continuously. Except on tap was closed at some point in 90s. All right? The other tender wala chali raha hai. This one came back. 92 it was stopped. 99 introduced. 2001 it was stopped. And now since 2005, April 6, 2005 April 6, I find the data there. So, last 10 years, last not 10 years, 7 years, it has been running continuously. Now, why it happened, I think why it happened, because when I looked at the 364-day treasury bill, I found some answer. It's like a archaeologist, looking at, trying to unearth some secrets of the past. When I looked at the 364-day treasury bill, I found it was introduced in the April of 1992. And then they say, oh, now I have an answer. The 182-day bill was doing very well. Now the government got more ambitious. They say, let's try out even longer term bill, money market bill, not 6 month, 1 year करो, देखो कैसे बाजार में ले रहा है उसको, इसको हटाओ. This is precisely the period from 1992 to 1999. They were not having 182-day, but that got replaced by the 364-day bill, which is roughly 1 year. And they settled the market for 364-day. You can imagine, government has less headache if it sells it for a year, because the repayment will come after 1 year. Government का तो भी headache है, cash तो आ रहा है, all right, but short term means within a few months I have to return the money. 182-day, within 6 months I have to return the money. 364-day even better, because I can, pray, 1 साल तो है time to return the money. This, I think, is the reason. Because the time it was withdrawn 182-day, 364-day was introduced. And they tried it out for 7 years. For 2 years, they released the 182-day again to find out now, in the presence of 91 already there, 364 now there, how is 182-day doing? For 2 years they tried, they stopped it again 3 years later they reintroduced, and now the 3 bills are there in the market. This is the story. There is a short footnote here, I will talk about that soon. But before I close today, the 364-day, when I read up 364-day, you can read up the literature, you will find it's very similar to the 182-day bill. For instance, it is auctioned fortnightly, not weekly, fortnightly, all right. And these bills never had a specified amount to be sold. It's like available on tap. You buy whatever amount you want to buy. They would just announce that we are selling. Like the shop says, we now have marmalade, which wasn't available. It's not saying only 1 marmalade per head. It's not saying only we have 1 box of marmalades. We announce we are selling marmalade. You guys come and buy whatever you want to do. There is no pressure on you. This is how they are selling 182-day, 364-day, auctioning. Competitive bidders are there. RBI has no devolvement issue here, no responsibility whatsoever, even by definition no responsibility. 91-day में devolvement था. Lekin if the amount is not specified, where is the devolvement issue coming? Devolvement issue is coming when this is I have to sell like an underwriter of a company shares, and if the minimum doesn't go through, we withdrew. So, in case of a government, if minimum didn't go through, withdrew means what? How would the government run? It won't survive, it doesn't have any cash. If minimum doesn't go through, you arrange for the funds, devolvement. So, that was an additional headache for RBI. Now, it's interesting enough, even for 91-day bill, there is no devolvement for a long time now. And these guys, these other bills, markets, other bills of government bills, 364-day, and it's interesting. So, now what has happened, they were initially 364-day didn't have any non-competitive bidder, only banks. Again, they can use it for SLR. So, government is happy, banks are happy. Later, around 1999, they introduced the non-competitive bidders, state governments, etc. The 182-day, 364-day bill, all right. Non-competitive bidders are participants who don't bid for the discount rate. If you accept the market price, you can invest money. This is the story. I think this is why 182-day was withdrawn. Government then tried out, or RBI, if 364-day, even better for the government, can work. When they found it's working, they in phases introduce the put back the 182-day bill. So, today we have three kinds of bills. That is the data I will show you. Regular bills, 91-day, which is sold on a weekly basis, and 182 and 364, which is sold on a fortnightly basis without any specific amount, no devolvement. So, things have improved a lot. RBI is much more relaxed today. It does not have the government financing headache so much on its head. Recently, it had because of the inflation and the recession, because they did not know what to do with the economy. A lot of work, extra work. So, governor was often on TV trying to educate the public and the people at large as to what they are doing and what they are planning to do. A macroeconomic headache, not the headache of funding government budget, the headache of macroeconomic headache they had.